going, YouTube? How you fellas doing? Gals too. Yeah, this is Birdman. I'm a retired F-16 pilot. I've been riding high-performance motorcycles for a long time. I like to introduce myself to YouTube as a combat veteran, F-16 pilot, and a guy that loves to ride motorcycles. So I like riding fast motorcycles. There's one of them right there. So my pitch to you is this: I want you to ride like a fighter pilot. I want you to learn how to ride safely, effectively, and you can ride fast if you're smart. If you're smart enough to get on the bike and use some of my techniques, I'm going to teach you how to ride like a fighter pilot. And so that's my goal on the video series, is to learn to ride like a fighter pilot, incorporate a lot of the techniques that I've used to successfully fly an F-16, and to ride motorcycles for almost 50 years. And yeah, I've had crashes before when in the dirt, but on the road, you know, knock on wood, haven't had a crash on the road. So, and I attribute that a lot to being able to take the lessons that I learned as a fighter guy and applying it to riding a motorcycle. So let's do this. I'm Birdman out.
See a lot of steam. Well, it's raining, but I'm not used to stopping and looking at the bike when it's wet. Usually just cruising. But anyway, it's a hot motor, getting a lot of wet. 2012 ZRX 14R, 1442 cc's, got a tune, dynoed at I think 202 wheel horsepower. That's a fast machine and it's very analog. You know, if I was to put an analogy to it, for a fighter pilot and a fighter jet, this would be a dark gray F-15, which is the F-15E Strike Eagle, because it's big and heavy, fast, it's capable. The F-15E is that way too. It's definitely not a Viper jet, which we affectionately call the F-16. The Viper would be more like a leader bike, a really sporty bike you take to the track. I mean, I could go to the track with this, it'd be pretty good, but a lot of weight. It's 570 pounds. Got risers on it there, and aftermarket mufflers were already on it, the Yoshis. $7,500, and I'm telling you, buying a new bike, I don't think you need to. There's some really good used bikes out there if you look for them. I mean, just start looking. Yeah, you can find a bike like this for $7,500 with 7,500 miles on it. Man, that's a good deal. I already got 20,000 miles on this thing too. Yeah, I've taken it on 3 major trips this summer, and down to Southern California, out to Rapid City, Southern Utah, all over the place. Before I ride, I'm doing a risk assessment. That's the same thing that happens in a jet. If you're in a fighter squadron, you're gonna have a mass brief every day before flying. You're gonna get the weather, get the NOTAMs, you're gonna get all the intel, you're gonna get whatever you need to, you know, minimize the risk. And we do a risk assessment. And it's usually, what's the risk? Weather, currency. I mean, have I flown a long time? Am I current in the jet? Am I doing an upgrade sortie? Is it a combat sortie or is it peacetime? You know, that's a big difference. Is it nighttime or is it day? You know, what's the risk? You know, and is it acceptable risk? If it's not acceptable, for instance, on a long trip, it's not acceptable to ride up into the mountains when it's 33, 34 degrees and you know there's going to be weather. That's unacceptable because you know it might snow. And I got caught in the snow, a little bit of snow this year, twice, once in Rapid City. I was watching the weather real close, and sure enough, it started snowing up in the Black Hills. And then my last big ride of the year was up in California near Lassen Park. Same thing, I hunkered down in Reno to watch the storm come through over the Sierras, and then I'm trying to pick my way across the mountains. And, well, sure enough, I got caught in a snow squall. And, oh man, I'll tell you what, in all the years of riding, that was probably the most puckered up I've been, and flying, you know, where I thought, oh shit, this is it. I mean, you can't ride in the snow and it's sticking on the road. and I'm riding with one arm because my left hand is wiping all the snow from my visor, and it's not a good situation to be in for sure. Oh, nice guy, thank you. So anyway, I'd kind of, on that ride, I was like, oh, my risk assessment was good in that I tried to keep away from the snow, but I still get caught in it. So the answer, the success that I had coming out of that and not crashing was, slow down. And I'm one-hand riding just like this, just wiping and wiping and wiping. And kind of like I'm doing now. And because I had really good tires. These tires, I just can't say enough good things about these. The Michelin, I think, what are these, Sport 6 GTs? Man, I can't believe how good they are. They last a long time. They grip like crazy. They do really well in the rain and snow. So who would have thought? I was going to be riding in the snow. Didn't mean to, but it happened. But rain, rain's a different deal. You're going to be on a long trip someday, and hey, it's like anything, like flying jets. It's a practice sport. Riding is a practice sport. If you're not riding in the rain, at least get out there and, hey, it's raining. Oh, I don't want to ride. Well, get your gear on and get your rain gear on and get out there and get in it. Because you really need to get a feel for it. And you really need to practice braking. And for this bike, I don't have ABS, so braking is really critical. I mean, on every ride, I try to do some hard braking. Here we go. That was a pretty good stop. And I'm not riding anywhere over here. Not in the center. Stay away from the center lane. Center of the lane is bad. There's nothing good that I've ever seen in 50 years of riding that happens in the center of the lane. I'm either on the right side or on the left side, and I'll transition left and right.
Yes.
Especially, I learned that in 1982, and I almost crashed in Seattle for the first time. I was riding in the rain in the city, and just slip sliding away all the way down the hill. And so, kept it up, but, a lot of my skill set at that time was rooted in riding in the dirt. And dirt riding actually, it kind of came in handy a couple of times when I was younger, but it doesn't translate really exactly over to, as you guys know, you guys come from the dirt onto the road, it's a different animal. But there are some skills that a couple times I've been crossed up on a road bike and survived because I'm used to being sideways on a dirt bike. Not recommended, but in the rain, if you go sideways and a little bit about riding in the dirt, you know what it's like to do a power slide. Really, it's not a big deal. But if you go sideways and it's dry, good luck. You're on the high side. Probably not the best idea. So anyway, when I'm riding, like right now, I'm watching this guy and he's got all this shit in the back of his truck. So I'm looking at that, I'm looking at that guy over the left, I'm looking at guys coming down the other side. And I'll position myself over in this side of the road when there's oncoming traffic. Any two-lane road, I'm over here. Until the traffic goes by, I'll stay here. The traffic goes by, then I drift over here because now I'm avoiding anybody. I'm gaining space for anybody coming out of the roads and for animals. So I'm constantly using this entire lane throughout my ride. And I like riding on secondary roads. I don't like riding on highways like most guys. I mean, I see guys on the highways like in the south and they're doing all the crazy, group riding and high speed, blocking the right two lanes and then racing on the left lane. I get it. I was young once. I ride a fast bike. I would be tempted to do it. But man, some of those guys, like Fast Lane D, I kind of put a note in on his comments. I'm like, dude, I love your channel, I love your bikes and everything, but I might want to might want to talk to an attorney and see if you're going to be liable if someone's going to get killed eventually. They've already had crashes. If someone gets killed and you set that ride up and you're a big YouTuber, are you liable? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, riding in the rain, well, it's wet. Well, it's dangerous. Riding in the rain at night, whoa, exponentially more dangerous. That's really gonna bite you if you're not careful. But I did get caught in thunderstorms, and that's a big hazard. It's associated with rain and hail, and oh man, I'll tell you what, riding in a thunderstorm, and that was in New Mexico, getting hit by hail first off, and there were cars running around, the storm chasers were out. So you know that there's tornadoes. So I'm rooting around and I'm running out of gas, and I thought I was already on fumes. I was out in the middle of nowhere and these storms are all around me. Getting pelted by hail, and there's a cop stopped on the side of the road, and I was about to run out of gas, and I stopped and said, "Hey dude, you mind following me to a gas station? Because I don't think I'm gonna make it, bro." So he's like, "Yeah, I can do that." And so I made it somehow. It's a brand new bike. I didn't know how far you could go in the tank. Did have a flashing E right there for many, many miles. I made it through, but that night I got caught in another thunderstorm going into Santa Fe. And so the moral of the story is, when you're riding on a long ride, be prepared for anything. I mean, you got to be ready for rain. It's going to hit you. You're going to go in it. It's inevitable. But I highly recommend that you park the bike. You look at your radar, weather radar, on your app, on your phone, and if you see a squall line of thunderstorms, you watch it and you go as far as you can, and then you camp out somewhere. Not camp out, but stop at a gas station or somewhere safe, because you are not safe on a bike in a thunderstorm. You're gonna either crash because of the rain, you're gonna get hit by lightning, or you're gonna get pelted by big balls of. And if you're in Texas or New Mexico, they no shit get some hail there. That's tremendous. I stopped one time at a gas station when I was in pilot training. We were heading to F-16 training in Phoenix, and we had just had a huge squall line go through that night with tornadic activity and hail. And we stopped in a place in New Mexico, and I got gas, and I'm like asking the attendant, I'm like, "Hey, you guys have a big storm here?" He's like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Did you get hail?" He goes, "Well, hang on a minute, I'll show you." I'm like, what do you got? And he comes out and he's holding a softball-sized piece of hail in his hand. And I'm looking at it going, "Yeah, you gotta be shitting me. There's no way." He's like, "Yep, that's what came out of the sky. Killed some cows, destroyed some houses, and just carnage on cars." But another tip, here I am. I'm in gear because I try not, the temptation is to go into neutral, but there's nobody behind me. So I want to keep an eye on anyone coming up behind me. Because a lot of times what happens, if you delay and you're in a left-hand turn lane like this, and the guy's coming up, like this guy is, and if he's coming up and the light turns green, and I'm focused on that guy and he's looking at the green light, well, he went to the other lane, he might just see right through me because I'm invisible and just press on right into me. So yeah, be aware of that for sure. But anyway, just to reiterate in my intro, I'm talking about the comparisons between flying a fighter and riding a bike, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of similarities. Situational awareness, the risk is pretty similar. I think it's more similar if you're going to the racetrack and flying jets. That's a real similar situation as far as risk. I mean, the difference obviously is that guys on the track, you're accepting the fact that you're probably going to crash eventually. You're not accepting that when you're flying a jet. That's unacceptable to crash a jet. There's guys that will lose a jet and they'll punch out and give it back to the taxpayers. If you get into a situation in a jet where you're in the weather, it's at night, you get spatial disorientation, or vertigo, or whatever. You get some kind of there's some situation where you don't know up from down or sideways or whatever, and that jet is maybe giving you bad information, and you are out of control and you don't know what's going on. Well, you got to punch out. So, and or if the motor craps out, you know, there's situations in flight. You know, if you have enough altitude, you're going to try to fly, do a flame out landing, and try to get to either do a straight in flame out landing or up over the airfield. That's something that we practice all the time in a single engine fighter. I really enjoy, I mean, riding is my passion. Flying was my job. A lot of people are more passionate about it than me. I was watching that guy. And, but, you know, I flew quite a while. I flew over 2,000 hours of flying time. Flew in combat, flew in peacetime. A lot of work involved. There's a lot of mission planning. And that's kind of the connection I want to make with this channel is, hey, there's some mission planning that you need to do before you ride your bike, especially if you're in a group ride. If you're in a group ride, you better have a mass briefing with everybody, you know, and that's what we do in a fighter squadron. We start the day off with a mass briefing. I got the weather, NOTAMs, and it's got, you know, everything that we need to go into our individual briefing rooms and start talking about our flight, what we're going to do, and the objectives. So my objectives today, you know, was, yeah, make a video and start talking and get used to talking while I'm riding. And that's what I'm doing, but that's a higher risk level for me because I haven't done it before. So risk management for me was training. That's risky. You're talking. I could minimize the risk a little bit more on the bike. I could have turned the power down to 50% instead of 100 horsepower. I'm so used to modulating my power on these bikes. I've had 3 of them. So that's the other thing that you could assess too. What's your skill level? Skill level is a big deal. What's your natural ability riding a motorcycle and driving a car? You have a tendency to crash a lot, or you crashing cars, or are you really reckless? You know, what's your personality? There's a lot of guys that are out there riding bikes real aggressively. Well, I get that. So for intermediate guys, you know, the analogy for flying in a fighter squadron and being the new guy. When you're a new guy coming out of, you've made it through pilot training, you have your wings, and then the next thing you're going to do is you go to a fighter lead-in. We're going to learn how to do basic fighter maneuvers and stuff in a jet. And then you're going to go to your specific jet. So if you get an F-15, F-16, F-35, F-22, or whatever, you're going to go to the B course, which is where you're going to learn how to fly that jet. And, well, you know, you're still a new dude. You're just barely learning basic flying skills, and then all of a sudden they put you in a really high performance machine, and it's amazing. Within like 2 or 3 rides, you're solo. In an A-10, you're solo the first time you fly that jet, and so dude, you better pump up the nutsicle sack or the ovaries, because they expect a lot, really fast in training. The training pipeline to a fighter. Anyway, so yeah, so you're, you know, the guys that come out of F-16 training, they go to their squadron. Say, for instance, I went to Germany. So then you go to Germany and you're flying F-16s. Well, you get to the squadron and you're affectionately known as the FNG, the effing new guy, because you're sucking up sorties for everybody. You're not mission ready. That means that you're not able to go into combat. And you're the snacko. The snacko's the guy that goes by snacks and has to do the, you know, new guy shit. so then you're learning again. You're being instructed through an MQT program, mission qualifying training, and to get MR, which is mission ready. And a mission ready fighter pilot in a squadron is a guy who is he's ready to go to war. So in the jet, you go to a new place and you're in Germany and the weather sucks and it's just different. You know, the flying is different. It's more intense. Guys in the squadron that are really good and they're, you know, they're combat veteran dudes, and we're just this new guy. And you kind of get the same feeling, I think, when there's new guys like that are riding too. You know, they've done pretty good. They've made it through the first 6 months. They've got a decent starter bike, and then they're thinking, oh, the next bike, you know. And all the young guys are like, oh, I got to get a leader bike. Well, there's plenty of guys out there that have done that. Some guys started on them. Not recommended, that's for sure. So whatever you gravitate towards, whatever bike, you're still learning after 6 months. You're still, even after your MFSF course 2, you know, I would put you at after a year of riding, I would put you at the same level as a new guy coming into the squadron. Who still needs instruction, who still needs to be watched over, and is still in training to learn how to fly in combat. You know, and it's probably, it could be up to 6 months for a guy that new in the squadron. So a guy coming off a bike, a 600, his first starter bike, keep that bike for a year, dude. Keep it for a year and a half. Get good on that bike so you're comfortable in your situational awareness. So you're thinking ahead, you're thinking out in front. You're not stuck here. You know, like in the jet, you can easily get behind the jet when something happens inside the jet, like a caution light, or there's something going wrong. You can't, your systems aren't right, or you're starting to get behind and behind and behind. Well, the difference between riding and in the jet, you can't pull over on the side of the road and get your shit together in a jet. You got to keep going, dude. And that's where it really, when you're flying, if you're not really practiced, if you're not really current, man, getting behind in a jet, that sucks. And even not being comfortable on a bike, that sucks too. So that's kind of similar. So you're kind of the new, you know, you're a pretty new guy. You got a year and a half, and you just want to gain some extra skills. So, you know, hopefully, I'm just going to try to provide fighter pilot tips, number 1, 2, 3, 4. If you like what I'm saying, if you like the ride, I mean, I'm going to take some long trips. I might even go to Florida here in the next few weeks on a bike ride. I'm going to try to pick up a Concourse, which is a Concourse 14, which is basically this bike detuned but more comfy. I have to admit, I'm 63, and I start getting a little bit sore after 400 or 500 miles on this bike, on my hips. But I love it so much. I mean, shit, this thing's got some balls. I mean, seriously, if I was racing an F-16 on this, with this bike, with a clean jet, full afterburner, on a 8,000 foot runway in Europe, is on a cold day, that jet can take off with that little headwind in 800 feet with a GE big mouth motor. That is a machine. You can take off, suck the gear up, accelerate to the end of the runway and be at about 500 knots, stand that thing up on its tail, and accelerate vertically if you had enough vertical airspace in front of you, and break the speed of sound going vertically, going north. And that's a machine. This machine, I could take the F-16 up to about 100, 120, and then boom, it's gone. Maybe even 130. This bike's fast up to 150. But after that, is see you later. The jet just doesn't come off the line very good, but once it gets motoring, oh dude, that's an accelerating machine. So anyway, all right, so hey, like and subscribe if you want to see some more stuff. Like and subscribe and throw in some comments. And eventually I'm gonna see if I can add some stuff that some kind of videos, instruction videos, stuff like that. So anyway, I was just talking a lot, trying to get used to this anyway. So Birdman out. See ya.